Hi, I'm Tom Fulmer with Thomas Fulmer Company. I'm here with Randy Malden with Jack Quinn Solutions. And Randy and I have been talking about business for quite a while in a lot of different areas. And Randy has focused on logistics supply for quite some time, both in his career in the military and then afterwards working with companies all across the country. And I deal with people on a behavioral and communication basis. So we've really found a lot of things to discuss here when dealing with supply leaders, with managers, with both senior management and everybody in between, and some of the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. And Randy here is going to share some frustrations that some of the supply leaders face on a day-to-day basis, and we've actually worked together to come up with some solutions that will help you reduce those frustrations, eliminate some of the challenges, and really make it a lot easier to do business. So what are some of those frustrations they deal with on a day-to-day basis that maybe we can help them with?
Well, Tom, that's really what I've learned by going across the country and dealing with companies in the Fortune 50 to small businesses or just starting to grow and they need a supply chain capability. And they really deal with frustrations. And one of their main frustrations is getting good, clear requirements from their customers. Now, their customers are internal customers, engineers, managers, other marketing, sales. These folks come to them with requirements, say, hey, I need to buy this in order to do my job better. So that's when we get the requirement. We say, okay, well, let's go out and buy that for you. And their frustration comes in when they get a requirement and they really just don't understand what they need to buy. You say, I need a desk. You say, okay, what do you want, drawers in the desk? What do you want it to be, purple or red or yellow? What color do you want the desk to be? And so we have to draw that information out of them. And that's where the communication skills of the supply leader really come into play. And one of the things you and I have talked about is helping supply leaders be more effective in their communication. Mm-hmm. So that when they go to get a requirement from an engineer, they're able to speak to them in a way that gets the right requirement out. So when they actually go out to buy something, they buy the right thing the first time, and they're not wasting money, making their company more profitable.
All right, ask the right questions the right way to get the answers you're looking for, because a lot of times we're communicating with people, we're saying it our way, and of course we completely understand everything that's going on and what we're looking for, and when we say it to someone else, they don't necessarily understand what we're asking for. Would you say that's also not just a direct communication issue, but maybe also a strategic issue or a planning issue, because maybe things aren't laid out a certain way so that the information comes in the first time the way it needs to come in, that we haven't defined certain processes or procedures to make things happen? Is that something that happens quite often?
That's the other half of the major frustration a lot of people feel, is that they're constantly reactive. They're jumping through hoops to fill these requirements that are coming to them at the last moment. Mm-hmm. And when they have to buy something at the last moment, it really takes away their ability to negotiate a good price that's going to be not only cost effective for the company, but put in place a long-term supply solution so that they always have a source of supply, not just an immediate need. Yeah. So it's being more strategic. And when I talk to folks and they talk about their lack of strategic planning, and we really drill down to the reasons why aren't you involved in the strategic planning? It boils down to communication and developing rapport with folks so they have that trust. Just like you and I trust each other. Right. We've developed that trust over time based on the way we've talked to each other, the way we explain things. We know, I know what you don't like, you know what I don't like, but I also know what you do like. So when we do talk, I can say, hey, Tom, have you thought about this? And I put it to you, or I talk to you in a way that you understand. Not necessarily the way I want to say it, but I know that's most effective to communicate with you that way. So that's how we talk. And that's what another part of the program we're putting together is to teach people how to not only draw out those requirements, but build that trust, build that rapport so that they always have trust and they're invited to meetings and they're part of that planning process instead of that thing they think about after the plan is done.
Right. It's kind of like getting their voice heard, because that's one of the challenges, especially a lot of times in that mid-level of management. Getting your voice heard up the chain of command is sometimes a challenge because you may have a good idea or a good solution and just can't convey it in such a way to get people to actually consider it as a viable option. Being there in the day-to-day trenches, as you've told me many times and shared many stories about, a lot of those people know exactly what needs to be done. They just have a challenge actually getting it done and getting people to buy into the ideas. Right. So that's one of the challenges that we're working to address in the program with the Supply Leaders Academy that you have coming up, right?
That's correct. We've looked at the need, the problems and the frustrations that the procurement professionals are feeling on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And we said, well, how can we help them? And knowing you're a certified human behavior expert, you know how to communicate with folks. It's like, let's talk about we see if we can put together a program that's really going to help these people. And in our discussion, we realized not only do we need to be more effective in our communication, but we also need to be more effective in our planning. So we put together a planning piece where we teach people how to do a strategic plan in 5 steps. Not 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 steps. And how long it takes you depends upon the strategic plan you're trying to develop. And then we put it all together with teamwork. Because even though you may have great communication and you may have the best strategic plan, if you don't have a team to really put it all together and make it function effectively, then it's been a waste of your time. So that's when we brought together communication with strategic planning together with teamwork. Teamwork of not only your internal team, but then your supply chain vendors, they're part of your team as well. Putting it all together in a good package, which we're calling Supply Leaders Academy, so people can come and learn these skills that are going to make them supply leaders in their organization, not just procurement buyers.
Right, and you've done the certifications for the CPSM certifications for quite a while, and that really focuses a lot more on the technical aspects. Is that correct? A lot of the how-tos and eliminates some of the procedural challenges, helps them with some negotiation and some ways of doing things. And then Supply Leaders Academy is the way to add the other piece to it, so that you have a balanced approach in how you build your organization, how you grow, how you resolve issues and eliminate frustration.
That's exactly right. We've spent the last few years going around the country. I mean, we've been from the West Coast to the East Coast. We've had people fly in from Germany, all over the world to come through our certification courses. And we're teaching them the skills to be procurement professionals. It gives them a common language. It gives them common processes. It's where one person or a team of people in an organization now have a common terminology. That's the technical piece of what we do. But that's not the leadership piece of what we do. Even though we may be very technically proficient, the leadership is what enables us to be effective. We're able to come to the table and people are asking us, well, where's Randy? He needs to be in this meeting because we're going to be talking about a major plan where we're going to require resources. We're going to have to budget for this major project, and Randy understands the market, so he knows how much it's really going to cost us. So we need to make sure that procurement person's in this meeting, and that only comes over time. A lot of the folks I deal with are very frustrated because they're invited after the meeting's over, and they're handed a list of requirements, and they're like, well, if I had been involved in this in the first place, I could have given you better pricing. I could have told you it's not going to cost you this much, but if we do a good procurement process, then we can actually buy this at a much lower price, 10 to 15%.
Right, and that kind of brings up another thought that just popped into my head. Sometimes you have people in an organization that maybe make a commitment to something without necessarily going through the right channel sometimes, and then your supply professionals are having to deal with that, or your procurement team is having to deal with that when maybe you're paying 2-3 times as much, your delivery's not as good, there may be some reliability issues, there may not be the right exact fit or best quality, when you have that happen. And that's both a communications issue and a planning issue. And that's one of the things that we were talking about in one of the upcoming videos. In fact, coming up after this is kind of a quick introduction to some of the frustrations and challenges that you have. We have several part video series where we'll be talking about influence and persuasion, strategic planning, and what are a couple of the other things we're going to be covering in some of those videos?
Well, for communication, it's really about influence and persuasion. And as procurement and supply leaders, a lot of times we do not have direct authority. We have to influence from the middle. And we're now influencing our peers and our subordinates. We're also influencing our seniors and helping them understand the situation so they can make better decisions. And then we go into strategic planning, where we have a process that allows people to go through a process on planning. So they know what to talk about, when to talk about it, so it sets up a situation. And the process we put together is 5 steps of strategic planning. Very simple, very straightforward, so people can go into a 3-hour meeting and they can go through a strategic planning process and come out on the other side of it with a strategic plan. And then we're going to wrap it up with teamwork. How do you bring it all together? How do you build your internal team? How do you build your supply chain team? How do you bring it all together so that you can have an effective supply chain that is strategic in nature, not tactical and reactive?
Yeah. Well, your next video is going to be coming up. It's going to be a how-to video. It's going to be focused on influence and persuasion, if I can say that correctly. So influence and persuasion. So check out part 1 of the video series. You should get some great information. This is not just information, though. It's really going to be application. It's going to be real-world scenarios and how to apply it to make a change and reduce frustration and challenges in your everyday life, starting right now. So tune back in to part 1 coming up very shortly.